welcome to This and That. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Hello, Dave. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you. And that is not the piano that was on your social media today, Jonathan. I feel like you were lying to me.
It's like the deception of house hunters.
Yes, I was sending you text messages as we coordinate, and I was like, he's not responding to me because he's hanging out with that attractive Australian pianist. And Jonathan loves pianists. And I just think that he is not...
You know how Jonathan loves pianists, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm in Canada, so let's also see how the internet goes.
Yeah.
But I had filmed that with Lachlan, the pianist, last week. But
we once filmed shows. You were in like a dorm room in Canada at some point.
It's true. Now I'm in the studio instead of a dorm room. The magic of This and That. Literally filmed all over the world. Let's see what happens when I'm in China. They're going to come in and shut it. Yeah.
And we're doing it on another day because of these craziness going on. So we have a little bit of summer travel and things happening. So yeah, I'm actually going to be busy this weekend as well. So you can have a kind of bridge episode until we
That's right. But we did pump out, you really did all that editing, obviously, for the 95 Worlds. That still came out last weekend, and that was fun. I enjoyed doing that.
It was good. You know what? Emily Desjardins is doing all the good work. People are loving the Patreon videos. So, but it's
a palate cleanser. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's a lot of fun because we don't have the same people arguing about the same skaters. It's fun. It's fun to go back and
new people arguing about old skaters.
Not really arguing. It's more like fun discussion. No one's saying
exactly.
You awful human being, you do not understand.
Bingo. Yeah.
It's fun. It's but we are working on a project that I've wanted to do for a while because when Ute Mueller's documentary came out, she turned 90, and I realized that someone else is turning 90 on July 18th, Dick Button, and I was thinking of what we could do for him. And I was thinking, like, at first I was like, should we visit or what? I'm like, I don't know. But we love Dick, and I always loved those montages of Dick's seal of approval and
the gold standard or whatever.
The two that are on YouTube. But I always thought we should really do one with our own spin on it because
there's so much more material there.
Yes, there's so
and
much
now that he tweets, oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking, like, we have so many moments that I love that weren't in there, but of course we have to include many on there because people love Good For You, Lucinda Rue. People love that, and people love different things, so...
It's like the ultimate compliment, Dave. If you ever called me and you were like, I got a huge promotion at work, I would respond, good for you, Lucinda Rue.
Yes. Well, anyway, I have a vision for it it's probably... I was thinking about if we're going to do one video or multiple videos, but it's going to be, there are going to be themes. We're going to chunk it up, where it's not just going to be his seal of approval. It's going to be like, if he likes your program. There are certain skaters that he really has things about, both good and bad. Mm-hmm. Oddly, Surya's not really one of his skaters. She's more a Scott and Sandra bait up there. He likes exciting people. He really didn't pick on her as much as he could have.
He gets razzmatazz. He knows showbiz. Yeah, he knows he could book her shows and she could make him a lot of money. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he appreciates, like, the weird ones. He appreciates them for the camp factor. He knew that was good, too.
They're unique qualities. Yeah.
But he, there's some, like, Urmanov. He just has a lot of feelings about him and his kind of costumes and things. And it was just funny. I was talking to my friend Joanna, who, is a proud European, and she was saying about how Dick and Peggy, they wanted all the women to look like Mad Men extras. And I'm like, well, that's what we want, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. That is not untrue. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
and you were sending me some clips from the 80s, and that's where we have forgotten some of those morsels. Like, obviously, we talk about Agnes all the time from 88, but there were some great moments for him commentating in 84.
Oh, yeah. Last year, I was doing some Instagram stories, and one night I was doing, like, Dick and Peggy watching the 84 Olympics. Brutal.
Right? Right? Yeah. I loved that kind of coverage. It gave you a point of view.
Yes. So we're looking for a couple specific clips. Midori Ito's ABC coverage of the long program. For some reason, Triple Axel 1996, his name is Sklar, he has all of the videos from ABC, including the Chen Lu one, which is hard to find when you do the actual search, I don't want to hear Peter Carruthers commentating the 1996 World. I want to hear it like it's my VHS tape, and I definitely don't want it to be the ESPN coverage.
Right.
I don't want that da-da-da, to go off in the middle of it. I don't want the B team. No, I want Dick and Peggy. I want Peggy being like, she looks very elegant out there, or however Peggy speaks. But and Terry Gannon, and that's our sweet spot. And we need to have Midori Ito's free skate. Because,
from 96, you're saying.
Because Dick says something rude, Peggy then says something nice, and then Dick asks Peggy to marry him, and I thought that would just be like a fabulous ending to the video. Like, in my mind, that is the most perfect ending to this competition.
I wonder why it's hard to find.
I don't know, but it's not up there, and even on the FS Vids message board, it's people don't go on there like they used to with YouTube. I can't really find it. And I remember we used to have like a Rink Hub, all the different ways that we used to.
I used to have a VHS with that 96 thing on it, but I remember at one point being like, why would I ever need these VHSs anymore? They're all on YouTube. Tossed them all.
You know what? Erin Helms-Reen, go find your 96 World VHS. You upload that. I'm going to call her after this and yell at her, okay?
Exactly. Get on it. Don't you care about skating?
She does. She's going to. Okay.
She definitely does.
And someone sent me a video of this on my phone, and I can't even find that, from when the Olympic Channel was re-showing the different Olympics. Okay. Sandra and Dick got in a fight during the 2006 Olympics. Sandra, being a Canadian, I believe, had it with Sandhu, and Dick was telling her why she was wrong. And although I love Sandra, we need this Dick Button moment. And I think Sandra would be okay with it. She would be fine.
Yeah. Well, because again, he was always one of those people that you were like, oh my gosh, it is all right there. I'm sure that's frustrating. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And also, Dick Button let Michelle have it for that awful Bolero program. And even though she's one of his favorite skaters, at the Marshalls event at the end of the year, she was wearing the blue dress. It was the spring 2005. He just kind of like let it rip about how it was last year's program. To this year's music, and certainly not the work of Christopher Dean. It needs to go in there because there's going to be a lot of him praising Michelle, and for our European friends, we want them to know that he can let her have it too. And I asked Michelle what we should include, and she goes, anything of him talking about my layback. And I was like, great, he did a split screen. So, oh, and you know what? I asked a couple other skaters what we should include, and you know that every other one was like, oh, the refrigerator break comment. Those girls who pretend to be so nice were all like, that shady remark he said about my competitor. They were all...
Yeah. Well, remember, I mean, even Jenny would talk about when Peggy and Dick would have criticisms of her posture or whatever. They all listened to that and take it so seriously especially back then, because it was such a seal of approval for the public. I bet they all know exactly which ones they liked and which ones they didn't, from broadcast to broadcast. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember Adam even knew that we didn't like his crossovers once. I remember somehow that came across. He's like, well, you're always talking about those crossovers. And Dick was too with some of the ladies. Dick and Peggy were in Europe, and I don't know if they showed this in the 2008. They kind of had that like goodbye to ABC Sports covering skating montage that was like sad, and we didn't like realize the gravity of it at this time. I think they showed Dick and Peggy like in the furs in Russia. They were like wearing the fur. It was fabulous. We need it. Jonathan, just go along with it, okay? No,
I'm with you. No, I'm just thinking of like how funny that must be.
People are just like seeing my full crazy with my creativity coming out. Like there's a lot of thought and crazy that goes into it.
Well, I know you with a rabbit hole. I know that this is going to be iconic.
Well, Jonathan, I told you that I want to start a blog called Down the Rabbit Hole for other things. But yes, I have different things written out that are going to be included.
Oh, is that it? Is that all?
Things to look up. But anyway, and you were
Amazing.
saying about how skaters improved. Apparently, Dick didn't like people's scratch spins anymore in the early 80s, and then people all started working on them because Dick was very mad. And then in the early aughts, they were mad at everyone's layback in the late 90s, and then all the girls started working.
I remember that free leg. Yeah,
that free leg.
I just remember that constantly. And it's so funny, when I was growing up, I remember like Skating Magazine had like a survey about your favorite commentator and your least favorite commentator, and I like ripped out the little thing and mailed it in.
Anyone who picks Scott Hamilton, I judge. Anyone?
No, I'm trying to think who I would have said.
People loved him back then. It
was either Sandra or Tracy. I liked Tracy even back then. But I didn't like Dick Button then. As a child, it was just like, stop kvetching, And then now as an adult, I'm like, I see this is a man who literally helped create the sport as we know it and is so impassioned about what it should mean and what it shouldn't mean. And now I appreciate it so much more than I ever did back in the real time.
So he reminded me, I think I've said this before on here, he reminded me of my piano teacher back in the day. He and Frank kind of had that quality. Now,
he would love that.
My piano teacher shaved his legs, loved figure skating, had a wife.
Oh, no wonder he reminds you of him.
Jonathan!
I'm teasing.
People think I'm the inappropriate one. Anyway, this is... Listen, okay? We love Dick, and we are making this epic for him. We have to do it quick, though, because July 18th, so there's no time to, time is of the essence, people. We are working.
Yeah, it can't be too artsy-fartsy.
Yeah.
We can't, okay.
We are on mission, okay? We are...
So everyone, help us find the clips.
Yeah. And
go to your basements.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's going to be a little pause, for a couple days. This is the focus, okay? And Matthew Hines is on my last nerve with when he tweets at us for his videos, and he's like, I don't know if I missed this and that, and it's like, what, you mean the YouTube channel you're subscribed to? Thank you, Matthew. You can just ask us. Just be upfront. What do I always say, Jonathan? You want to be a bitch? Be a bitch. Okay?
Do you always say that? You always say it now, I guess. Okay.
I do. But, yeah. So, anyway, I made you do a little homework this week.
I know, Dave. It hurt, this one. This one was tough. This one was tough for me.
No, you have to watch it multiple times. I'm going to tell you. First time, horrifying. Second time, you have to appreciate, even though it's horrifying, you have to appreciate the over-the-top, dramatic, almost dark comedic aspect of how ridiculous this whole thing is.
Well,
the theatrics.
Okay. Well, bring him up to speed. What did you make me watch?
Okay, so it is a documentary about Irina Wiener, and I had it on my computer, and actually I was just making space while I was editing a video, and I thought, I'll rewatch it. And then I was like, we never actually really dove into this. And it was done by the BBC about Irina Wiener and Margarita Mamun, who won the 2016 all-around title in rhythmic gymnastics. And rhythmic is coming up. I'm getting excited for summer sports again. Roller skating is happening in the Palau Saint-Germain in Barcelona, where the 92 Olympics took place. So we'll be discussing that a little bit, because there are some gorgeous Matteo Goris types.
Yes, some of that what Luca, they can do jump-wise on roller skates, it's incredible. Yeah.
I miss the rise and fall of the knee that skating on the ice gives you, because skating on the roller is kind of all one plane, which you could kind of see in Tara Lipinski skating a little bit. She doesn't have that rise, and all of the roller skaters really. Right. She's actually much better than most other roller skaters who transition. But a lot of them, they don't have the rise and fall, but there is still such impressive, striking things, and it can be quite artistic and quite cool to watch. So I thought that would be interesting to highlight a couple of top performances. But also the diving championships are going on. So for the World Championships.
And the reason I was glad you had me watch this in some ways was it is just an insight into this kind of elite training and the kind of this happens in skating.
Yes.
You know that this culture and way of training.
And we've seen snippets of it. When Tarasa was coaching, we see little brief snippets, right? Or we hear rumors that people say. And then they'll say, oh, you're a liar, or this. The interesting thing is the reactions to this documentary. Of course, when it aired on the BBC, it was so polarizing, right? But it was interesting. I put it on Instagram, just a couple of the stories and stuff like that. And some of the Russians were like, see, this is great Russian coaching. This is why it's so wonderful. And you're like, oh dear. You know, I thought as a film, there were things, as someone who has, you know, worked in media, there are things that they do that are so fantastic in this documentary, just in the pacing, the storytelling. I think the ending is so powerful. The way that they edit, they don't even show you her actual competition because it's really almost
They very
irrelevant.
rarely show you is routine the appropriate
the routine.
word here? Yeah. They show you very little of it often because it's so focused on the coach's facial reactions.
And the emotional toll, I think, is what they're really doing. So I don't know about you, but those girls, to me, the top two, in Russia, they focus on Margarita Mamun, and they show her main training partner and competitor throughout the film. But they almost seem so stressed out and so exhausted that they don't even seem super competitive with one another. They both almost just seem like they want it to be over.
They just seem beaten down.
Yeah.
And so the fight has very little to do with them, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an interesting insight into, these are sports. They are also performance arts, rhythmic gymnastics, skating, all these sorts of things. And it's fascinating what inspires and what produces results. And something I've always liked about, when we'll talk about something, and when we're saying, oh, she has to do this, and you pinpoint, if you look at the takeoff, XYZ, and she needs to XYZ, or when Doug would come on and kind of give us some nuts and bolts moments, it's just so much more information about the actual thing. And so much here was like, just do it, or why aren't you just landing it? As if it was as easy as just landing it. Yeah. And when you listen closely to the coaches, they're not providing actual information on how. And I think it's such an important thing with these skaters, especially, and gymnasts and all these sorts of things. What is the status quo? And what are you thinking when you go into that jump? And I don't know, it was fascinating to me. This would not have inspired me in any way to have continued.
I will say, though, that there are two things that right before you compete, I really think that the instruction that you're getting is typically more psychological than technical, right? Like, get your head out of your behind.
But
right?
wouldn't that be, but see, don't mess up.
Well, that I find very
powerful.
I find that very, because they say that in, psychologists say that you should not use a word with not or no. You shouldn't say, and I remember my coach said it, even though I had known that you're not supposed to say something like this. You're not supposed to say, don't be nervous and focus on the negative aspect. You should say, go after it. Be aggressive.
Now you have a mantra. Now, instead of don't be nervous, oh my gosh, I'm nervous, it's not working, it gives you, it's not about negativity or positivity as much as it is have an active thing to do, and it just engages in an easier way. Yeah. And that's what was missing a little bit.
Well, there's a little thing here. So, I don't know, in some of the Peggy Fleming documentaries, I don't know which one it was, she talked about that her mother would start a fight with her on purpose before she competed to either make her angry or to get all the emotions out, where the one time she cried when the mother ripped up her letters. And I thought that there was some of that psychological manipulation going on with Irina Wiener when she was talking to Margarita Mamun, that she was purposely trying to be nasty to her to try to get her angry or to try to get some sort of a response. Now, there are many coaches that believe that that is the lowest common denominator of motivation, to try to get someone motivation. Anger and yelling is like the lowest. It can work and produce results, but a person may not achieve their highest potential from that negative motivation.
Let's talk it out, because you've talked on the show about of Evie.
Yeah.
Kind of being a negative challenger, and then that some people would fight.
And I don't think he's like a monster. Like, he's not like this, but he will make sarcastic remarks and sometimes be a grizzly bear. But he even said it, like in Books with Nancy, about Nancy, he would make the thing, well, that's pretty good for a girl, or something like that, and stuff that just gets under your skin. Jenny talked about him saying that her spin sucked, or just that little, I'm going to show you. And Bela Karolyi would do things like that, where he would talk about ignoring Kim Zmeskal, and if you want Kim to perform well, he would turn his back in practice. And like all of these...
But that's him knowing her. And in the same way, like Orser was talking about, we approach Javi very differently than we approach
I can't picture
Hanya.
Orser turning his back and doing that kind of a thing. I mean, these are sport kind of games, like effing with people that you're learning.
And it's about who's in front of you and what motivates each person. It can't be just a general blanket rule, but they seemed very much for her to shame and to take down. And I thought this...
And we hear some of that, like, coming out of Sambo 70. We do hear those theme of things when you read the interviews. When you read between the lines in a lot of places.
If you're screaming at someone, why don't you have confidence, which happens all the time in this, and it's like, that's like poking someone and saying, relax, relax, relax.
Now, she's trying to get her to be aggressive, right? Now, she's trying to say... She was very upset that her limbs weren't stretched with full tension when she was doing some of the different apparatus. And she was just so focusing on the fact that you're shaking.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, shaking was a big part of, and I don't know.
Very mad about the shaking. Very angry.
But what does that mean, shaking,
you know,
as
like
it applies
you're nervous,
to
like in your arm? So I think she didn't think that she had like strong body tension too. I mean, they're doing things
like she saw nerves in the hands.
Yeah,
and to me,
when you're using the hoop and moving it, I forget what apparatus she was doing at the time, but yeah.
So do you think you are going to inspire confidence and sense of self to alleviate that by screaming, why are you nervous? Why are you shaking? It just seems like the wrong approach in this instance.
I honestly felt that these two girls were talented, but that maybe they got to a situation where this wasn't their ideal talent, right? Like, I think that they look for certain fighter personalities in this sport. There are certain magnetic personalities who rise to the occasion, and I felt like these two girls were very talented and very beautiful, but weren't quite Katarina Witt types, right? Like, they were not it.
But Katarina had a Yuda who was tough, but she was also maternal.
Yeah, and Irina is not. But
she is trying to inspire exclusively through shame.
But what I did find interesting is that she used to be the personal coach of her athletes, but over time, she became like this overseer figure where she's like the head coach and there's a day-to-day coach with someone. And it was interesting that actually Marita Mamun's everyday coach that was there was actually a student of Irina Wiener. She was in the Olympics herself, and it was like this weird Stockholm syndrome going on. There is so much happening psychologically in that documentary.
And that's what was tough for me, especially right now at the moment. Yeah. I am in the midst of educating, and I just think, like, my God, if I thought this was the way to do it. Here, wait, I want to look up a couple of things, because I also think when they say you shake, you don't do well in performance like you do in practice, all these sorts of things, it reiterates that narrative for the competitor. In the same way, I think back to Mariah when she first got the under rotation calls at nationals, and Frank was mad because it sends a message to the judges, now we're looking for the under rotations. But I think if she had a coach that was constantly, you're under rotating, you're under rotating, you're under rotating, it solidifies. Or I guess you're a short program skater, you're a short program skater. All that stuff, you start to take it on, even if it's not really true, it becomes true.
Yeah.
I don't know. God, it bothered me.
But and there were a couple of things here, and while it's horrifying, this coach is very wealthy, right? So she is married to, I believe, the richest man in Russia. He's a billionaire. At the end of the day, and I know people's net worth changes, and based on the facts you read. Extraordinarily.
And as Kathy Griffin says, when you put a B in front of that changes big time.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
She's like friends with Putin, like very powerful, wealthy woman, right? Like the queen. She also has received the Olympic Order. Like, she's gotten all of these awards. She was also the vice president of the federation. Her gymnasts have definitely been in trouble for judging manipulation, for things like they were taking banned diet pills, just like all sorts of things, right? Now, this documentary I thought was pretty, that they probably wouldn't be happy with, right? Like maybe that they would have issues with how they were portrayed, allegedly, right?
They made that edit make us look so horrible. Right. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Okay. There's another documentary put out by RT, right, which is a partially government-funded channel by Russia. There are things in that documentary that was put out, like a quote-unquote state-sponsored documentary, where they talk about that one girl was told that she had to lose 4 kilos in 3 days if she wanted to train there, and that she had to go on a water diet for 3 days if she wanted to be able to train. Like the things that they talk about that are like so
with pride.
Yeah, with pride.
That they think that hard work is to break someone.
Yes.
In a way, and I guess that philosophy for me would never have worked. So that's why I'm so resilient to that.
Yeah, it was.
It's a fight or flight thing, and I would fly the hell out of there.
There are just some things that after you see it the first time on a rewatch become like such. It reminds me of like one of those over-the-top like Best in Show type films where this woman is wearing just this ridiculous costume.
With like glamour shots hats. Do you remember glamour shots in the mall? Yeah,
she's
that
wearing,
red one.
then she's like going in there when she's like yelling at her, saying awful things. It seemed like she was always mad on purpose to try to generate the fight. When like they could never do anything to please her. You could tell the competition seems like a nightmare with her.
Right.
But the end, and I don't know why this isn't, there are people that know more about rhythmic, certainly than we do. But the end, she was sitting in a hospital bed over Skype, and I wondered why she had to have a surgery during the Olympics or any of that, but she wasn't there. But she was like sitting in a hospital bed, looking completely dissatisfied with their training. They had her on like a Skype hookup, and she was still just as nasty and as brutal as ever. But like just like the shot of this, that there's this woman over Skype making your life hell thousands of miles away, like continents away. Like that was just.
And it felt like in some of the scenes where you see it, it felt like gawking. Like I was watching someone be ruined emotionally.
Yeah.
And then all of this pain, and I'm starting to think like, what is the point of this sacrifice? Is this worth breaking a human spirit for a medal? And then she goes out, and I don't mean to be dismissive, but we see literally a child breaking.
Yeah.
And then she goes out and she's waving a ribbon to "We Will Rock You."
Oh,
and something doesn't compute the sacrifice for that. It's like, and this is so, at the end of the day, a little bit absurd.
Skating is absurd too, and you know that it happens in this sport as well. And I think that was but at the end of the day, there's something absurd about like the music and the outfits and the costume and the ribbon and the hoop. But ice dance is ridiculous. Skating cannot throw stones here. But anyway, at the end of the day, I thought that the edit was so crazy when you see like she wins the Olympics, and it was basically like, and then her dad dies, and she quit the sport like immediately. Like that girl wanted out. But the way that the film ended, it was so powerful at the end, and just like jaw dropping, like holy shit. Also, when the way that they bring up her father's death is a little bit subtle, especially I think because we're watching a translation, but but she was like, think of your dead father, like think of your dying, like what in the world? That was like the and then
I'm ready to nail it. Yeah, like honest to God.
But the craziest thing else was that she was going over to people and she was like bragging about the fact that she said it. Like she was really proud of herself. She was like, I thought of a good one there. Like that was.
Yeah.
Anyway, you have to watch the film.
Idea. There's that horrible culture in abusive relationships, which this certainly was, where look what you made me do to you.
Yeah.
Well, why do you make me have to talk to you this way? And I just think like even the gold medal doesn't give that girl a satisfaction that she did it.
Yeah.
Because there even those, I don't mean to get political. This is completely void of what you think politically. However, there were moments when Trump had sort of set up in the first election that he was going to win, but if he didn't win, it's because it was rigged.
Yeah.
Right? So it was damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And this happened when they were saying, well, the judges only give you credit because of your eyes.
Oh, I thought that was hysterical. Your pretty eyes.
They were very jealous of them, but it already discredits anytime she might win.
She also, in the other film, she talks about liking someone's eyebrows. There was just like a lot of weird, hysterical stuff. Anyway, if you want to see it and you're a Patreon member and you have a Gmail, I'll make a post in Patreon and we can make it happen. So anyway.
You know what it was? It reminds me sometimes, and this happens in skating too, when I think certain people that struggle are considered arrogant.
Yeah.
And in this instance, they were broken, not arrogant. And to me, what I come to, it's just my personal take, I come to skating to see emotion and transcendent performances. It happens to be why I like the particular skaters I like. For instance, we were talking about Dick Button earlier. When he starts queening out at the end of Tosca with Michelle Kwan at that Nationals, when she is just, her heart is on her sleeve and she is emoting the joy of skating, and it's just such an expression of self, and you know she wants to be doing nothing other than that at that moment. It's intoxicating.
Yeah.
To even though that wasn't her finest program, the emotion just carried you over, and I don't understand how anyone could deliver a performance like that if that's the way their sport was approached.
I have to say that I did see Anna Basonova perform in person in China. It was just the qualification round. All the feels. Like, it was incredible. Like, it was jaw-droppingly beautiful, and, you know, I didn't know all the technical, but it was, like, stunning. Like, just... I saw Johnny Weir do Ave Maria once, and it also, like, his body line and positioning was just, like, wow, like jaw-dropping.
You know when someone's having a moment, and I just think, so it's like Sandra used to say, you have to create a safe place where someone can be vulnerable in order to find how they can get that moment. And I just didn't see how this was possible. Yeah, crazy.
But anyway, it's definitely worth a watch, and also watch the other one. I mean, this woman is, I mean, just the whole thing. She is a character.
Okay. It's interesting. It's because I think it transcends into other disciplines, other sports, other crafts. Yeah. I mean, it's just in general what inspires and how you train.
And the overlap. So one of her famous students was Alina Kabayeva, and during the Olympics they kept mentioning that Zagitova was named after Kabayeva, and of course Kabayeva has long been alleged to be Putin's mistress. So I might have tweeted about that she was named after the mistress, and I don't know if it was like a mistranslation to other accounts or they were misconstruing, but
that maybe people thought you were saying Alina was Putin's mistress, which you were not saying.
No, and I said she was named after, but it was weird. I got the same message, and I didn't know if they were bots or not, but it was confusing because it seemed like they were Japanese accounts because they all had like photos of Hanyu or Shoma, and they were all like, delete your account. And it seemed like, I don't know if that's a thing that they say in certain countries when they don't like your tweet, they'd all be like, delete your account. Like, oh, thank you, I'm going to take your advice. But anyway,
you know what, you're right.
You are right.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those bizarre moments. But yeah, it was like, you're right. Yes, okay.
Well, and it's interesting because we happen to know there's a lot of nationalism.
Are there Russian bots that did they make skating bots with other... It was
Seems
weird.
like you could be more effective.
No, but they were all like specific kind of thumbnails. It was just weird. It was like Bizarro World, and they all had like similar messages. It was strange. So
yeah, that's weird.
During the Olympics, I wouldn't doubt it if they have bots of anywhere, or if it was just a mistranslation. So who knows? It was one of those weird moments where I was like, who cares? So if you didn't get it, like, well, you know.
Yeah. Exactly.
You always wonder who's on the other end. You're talking like a 14-year-old from, like, you know.
That's this world about Twitter. And actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to make this transition. Can we talk about the Julin article?
Oh, yeah.
Or am I messing up?
No, you're not messing it up.
I'm going rogue. So this comes down to one of the more interesting points I thought Julin kept making in this interview that he did recently, where the interviewer kept talking about, you know, there's a grumbling about this, or the fans are saying this, and this, that, and the other. And one of the things was, you know, the fans may grumble that Gabby and Guillaume are going to come back with more of the same. Mm-hmm. And Julin made such an outstanding point. He was like, they can grumble all they want. You know, the judges are going to give them 10s regardless. Doesn't matter what.
Now, there was some shade there. He was also implying that they were overscored, yes.
But several times over and over again, it would be someone trying to get him to weigh in on certain Twittery, internet-y gossip, And he was like, I don't care and I don't know.
It was
how that reflects. It's just the judges.
It's also a strategy of an interviewer to ask the question without being the bad guy, to put like these people say, and to do that rather than they want to know that answer, because we all want to know that answer, because it's what skating people think. It's not just so. But I did think that he did kind of say that he had a funny way of describing the Marie-France style in Gabois. He said they were all kind of lethargic, and they have a lighter style, but I wouldn't call them lethargic.
Lethargic? No.
It was like kind of lyrical. People used,
yeah.
Like, Jonathan, even though it was a translation, you know that was intentional. Like, that was an intentional...
It has to be. He was being very... If he was your coach, I'd be like, nailed it. You nailed that interview. Now, he did all the politicking.
Now, the funny thing is that there are thought to be two political animals in the sport of ice dance right now. You've got Marie-France and you've got Zhou Lim, and they are the chief politicians. It is Marie-France and Romain Hagenauer, who are one entity, and you have Zhou Lim, who is the other. Igor is making a comeback, and especially that he's with Pasquale and Massimo and getting that, but they are kind of bringing up skaters and not into the power just yet, although I would never count Igor out because he's a talented coach, and when he has the right talent, he knows the people. But, and Marina was obviously a talent, political and a coaching talent as well. However, I thought it was freaking ironic and hilarious when he was talking all about, that there's just so much politics going on and there are so many American and Canadian judges on the panel, as though the number of judges has changed, right? Like as if anything has happened, right?
America didn't dissolve, and now we have all the different state coaches on the panel.
Also, like, Zhou Lim also had, at the Zagreb competition where there was the big scandal about the judges, not this season, but last, before the Olympics, and the whole Martin Diaz against his Spanish team was going on, and whatever you think there. But there's just certainly been a lot of political stuff happening over the last couple of years. Jonathan's mother, also a caller.
Not my mother.
Not your mother, Guerrero, but like...
Dear Lord.
A one-time student. Anyway, like, lots going on, always, politically. And they are both powerhouses. Hysterical to see him talk about, as if they are wronged or put upon, especially as we see Sinitsa and Katsalapov rise in the ranks so incredibly this season after Bobrova and Soloviev were disappeared. We did learn that Oyenik was the one who didn't want to come back, and that Soloviev really did, which we were kind of hearing. She's off dancing with her boyfriend, although that didn't get great reviews, but he kind of said that he didn't think that they could come back at this point, that he thinks that ship has sailed, and that, realistically it has, but it would have been an interesting...
Yeah, he was a little... I don't know what the backstory is there, but
he seemed annoyed. He was very
dismissive of Soloviev, I thought.
Oh, I thought he was more dismissive of her and just the constant drama. Okay. And the constant theatrics and are they coming back or not. And, he talked about...
I got a real misogynistic vibe from the interview. Because also when they would try to say nice things about Victoria, he kind of took it away and gave praise to Nikita.
He did give praise to her as well about how much she's improved over the last couple of years.
That now she's as good as he is.
Well, I wondered if it was like a whole, is she his muse situation and stuff. Victoria was not... I didn't read that as... Victoria was not at Nikita's level when they first teamed up. Like, he was a stronger skater and she was weaker, and now she does seem stronger, and it seemed as
But I happen to think that a little bit. It seems to be the opinion of Gabby and Guillaume also, but I would never hear that camp kind of talk that way about her.
I just think that when they teamed up, Alena and Nikita were like tier 1 skaters, and Victoria and Ruslan were not at that level, and they didn't have the same presence or the skating skills. And she has made such an improvement, because when she was first with Nikita, it was such a mismatch, and they would be twizzling, and he wouldn't even be like waiting for her. He was just going. Like, I thought that they talked a lot about Nikita's anger issues that they were a little bit more open about, because...
But didn't you read it as he boiled it down to of course Nikita was upset. She was terrible. I don't know. I just got a it was a bit.
It was
misogynist.
both. It was both.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he was going into like psychological about why Nikita is the way he is, but you know there were a lot of issues there. But I thought they were acknowledging that he had some real problems because that's why they're not with Marina anymore. So allegedly. Anyway, that was. Got to get that.
It's an interesting interview. I think it's worth the read.
Yeah, and also he was talking about how Medvedeva didn't understand the blues number that she did, and it wasn't really blues either. That was a weird characterization.
Yeah, he was almost dismissive of the program as a work, and I think the program, as you know, choreographically speaking, I think it had great potential. It just wasn't a fit for her, so she didn't know how to sell it.
But I thought it was an interesting remark about how he said that, you know, you don't grow up seeing that kind of 1940s pinup kind of thing all the time. And I'm like, you know, that's an interesting point. Because if they might not in their culture, you know, like,
right.
Who knows what Russia was like even during the Mad Men era or during this? Like, did they have hippies in Russia? Like, what was going on there? Like, that's
right. A lot of these cultural references are exclusively North American. Yeah.
You know, and I thought that was an interesting point that he made. And he was like, well, I can give her this one. And he was talking about some program that he made for her. I love when Russians, like, boost their own egos and talk about, like, full of hot air, like, how great of a program he came for her. Can I tell you, I was at the Worlds in 2016. I don't remember, and I obviously commented on it so many times. I don't remember much about her short program from the 2016 Worlds. I think she wore a magenta dress, maybe. I know that she biffed a jump landing and had to put the combination on something else, and then she had to come from behind, but I don't remember a lick about that program. I don't think there was anything memorable about it. I know that she was deaf and regained her hearing during the long. It was the whole, like,
what
thing going. Bad joke, Jonathan, again!
I know, I'm full of them. I specialize in them. But it's interesting, you know, this idea, and it goes back to the documentary also. Why are you coaching? And sometimes that, like, once a performer, always a performer ego kind of thing. Julian is carrying around the ego like he's one of the skaters still. It's still wrapped up in that. As it happens, I experience it in music all the time. Like, it's the rhythmic gymnastics thing. It was about them. It wasn't about the information they imparted. It was about how they were your savior. I don't know. It's an interesting
lot of that in
thing.
this sport, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Not exclusive to him. Anyway, we did find out that Kostornaia, it looks like, so there was editing of her post that she did with her program announcement. Okay, so I felt like we were like being nice about the Twilight program because it's what the kids like. And I remember when it was a show program, it was fine. It was like whatever. And then we found out it was going to be her short. And I thought like, oh,
really?
It's a short. They're gonna have
all she has to offer, and that's what you're going to do.
Also, the program's a crap program to begin with, and it doesn't show off her skating skills at all. And I don't think it's just because...
Okay, let's talk it out.
I don't think it's just because she was injured. She's such a special musical, creative skater, and this has nothing of that.
But do they know how to appreciate it? It's the reason I'm drawn to her specifically.
No, I don't think Danny G has any talent. None.
Well, doesn't know how to utilize what's in front of him in the same way when we were talking about, hold on, you can do it, Tessa Hong.
Yeah.
At Tom Z. Yeah. When they were trying to go jump drill, you know, like as if she was one of Vitiri's juniors who was going to backload the program, I just thought, then you don't know what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how to tap into what's right there that will make her so much better than everyone else. And it just seems like that here. You're denying us what this girl can do.
And I don't understand. The other music I thought was a little bit generic for her. Like, I thought they could edit it and it could be fine. There were some parts of the music, sound effects that I didn't like, but I thought, like, that could be actually wind up working. It's kind of like a little generic, but of a style that is popular in skating now, that's been the last several years, and like kind of that faux classical. And I thought, like, well, it could work, and she's lovely, and it's kind of airy, and thought that it could work. But, and I don't know if she'll bring back the other short program, even though I love it. I think, you know, it was...
They got it right with that one.
They did, but like, I think she should probably have a different special program for senior. Like it was great, but
she can stand out, and they're putting her in danger.
Yeah.
This way, instead of if you're going to maximize the other ones with the quads, that's great. Maximize what she has, which is skating skills.
Frankly, I would give the Twilight program to Trusova. She's the kind of the aggressive skater that has that kind of little edge would work for, and the kind of gimmick of it. I don't think that she can really handle musical interpretation, other than power. So you give her that kind of Game of Thrones. I don't think this at all was. It's just very disappointing. Also, Zagitova is going to do a Cleopatra-themed program, but also use The Feeling Begins, transition into other stuff. Sounds like a big old mess to me, Jonathan. A big old mess.
Well, it's true. Okay, so The Feeling Begins has this Middle Eastern tone quality to it. It's Peter Gabriel, right?
Yeah.
Which is so amazing. And it's clear to me then that they must just hear it as vaguely ethnic.
Yes.
And they're just kind of going hodgepodgey with it.
Do you remember the Miki Ando Cleopatra program? It was
probably the most. I was just thinking that one's the most offensive. I think I see. That was Vancouver.
Yeah.
When
she kept changing dresses. It went from a pretty good dress to what is going on. Yeah.
And now, when Sandra turns 90. She has some quotes from that particular Cleopatra program. She's like, well, as you can see, she just doesn't care about the program.
Yeah. And Miki, I think, would admit that to you. She
I
would
think
be
so, too.
I was not a very artistic skater. But you weren't. But
Correct.
She's kind of a really charming, delightful person, even though I didn't care for her actual artistic performances. I liked her jumps.
Yeah. They're two different things.
Yeah. And she's fun. She was a lot of and funny. But yeah, not a big fan there. Yeah, and also, so what? Okay, Vincent Zhou got a big sponsorship in Japan that is going to help with a lot of his training. Now he has had a lot of coaches. We need to explain that. I believe he was working with Christy Krall. He's been working with Tammy. Tammy's not really much of a technician. She's more of an overseer. Tends to have a deputy. He's been working with Mie Hamada. She's working on the jumps and the skating skills and the finer details and the politics. Anyway.
And the image, yeah.
And the image. Tom Z helping with the jumps, but we know Tom probably not helping with the presentation. Trying to get him more lift on those quads, get those quads rotated.
A lot of chefs in this kitchen.
The mother, obviously a huge chef. We all saw that YouTube video of her from years back. Anyway, a lot of chefs,
Put Mrs. Chen to shame.
Yes, really did.
Yes.
Really did. One of the most notorious mothers probably ever in the sport.
Yeah.
Vincent's mom. Then we had, and before you ask, the video doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, the other thing is we had Tom Dixon, we had Ryan Yankee helping with the skating skills. So now, he's spending these 2 months of the summer in Japan, working with Mie Hamada, been focusing on the second mark, focusing on the skating skills, the whole deal. Those quads, his quad sound looked under-rotated with Rika that we saw. They were on a really short rink, so it's hard to kind of judge with the normal flow and everything like that. Now, the other videos we saw, questionable. We saw on Instagram. He's still...
Do you think now a world medal influences technical callers? Are they going to give him more benefits of the doubt, or are we going to see them clamp down on it?
Possible, but I was going to go somewhere else with...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, technical, it's a fair point. I mean, but I also think if it's under-rotated, it's under-rotated. Some of the stuff.
Okay.
Maybe some of the questionable ones, always, but sometimes some of his you can kind of see with the naked eye.
Okay.
But my point is, let's say he's really been focusing on this, and we did see some people feel that he's improved a lot. I didn't love the program last year, but I thought maybe he's improved a bit. There are some things we kind of can see some work happening, but it's clear that
I see some efforts being made.
Yeah.
Have we seen the results necessarily? No, but I know it seems like they know they're going to try to work on it.
Right, and that's why you put certain people at the board, so people see what they want to see. But at the same time, we do kind of hone in on him when he skates, and maybe there is some... I would say it's not getting worse, and I would say that they have seemed to improve, and there's more of an attention being played to it, right? So let's see he makes progress over the summer. Everything's going well. Then he's going to go to Brown in the fall. Now the article...
Who's his roommate?
he doesn't have a roommate, but apparently his mom will also be moving with him because this was a big part of the equation about who's coaching him. Because in addition, first of all, why is he going to Brown now? I get that he is a very talented student. He's very, very smart. I think that anyone, if you read his writing, he's clearly a very intelligent person. But he's going to Brown, not Harvard. So I imagine maybe he didn't get in. Who cares? I ain't getting to Harvard. I didn't apply to Harvard. Whatever. But the thing that stuck out to me of the article is that he's going to be driving 90 minutes back and forth. He didn't say that he's going to be working with a coach there. Now, obviously, he is going to be working with a coach there because you wouldn't need to drive 90 minutes to the Boston area for a race.
Just for ice.
For ice. You maybe not get the biggest national training center, tons of people, but granted, 45 minutes away, an hour away, there's going to be a rink, right? He's not in the middle of Siberia, okay, where he is. Okay, in Providence. Not in the middle of Siberia, although it doesn't have the same kind of rink. Apparently, talking to people, he's going to be working with Mark and Peter, and they're going to kind of oversee him on a day-to-day basis, but also Tammy Gamble is going to be flying in, and Mie Hamada is potentially going to be flying in to work with him. That's a lot going on. That's just and his situation is always complicated. It's always complicated. But then we also...
And the kind of work to be done are not quick fixes.
Yeah.
They are slow, steady approach differences.
Yeah.
Daily this, like kind of ingraining something new. It's like if someone just pops in, gives you a couple Band-Aids, couple of tricks here and there, and then bails.
And I get that it's not for a long time. I get that it's not going to be happening for a long time. He didn't, and I get that his personality is sometimes a little hard to read, but he didn't seem excited about it in the article. He seemed like, yeah, I guess I'm probably going to be struggling a bit. And maybe it's just his realistic point of view, because I think he will be. But it just seemed like you're making all of this effort now. Why are you going to not...
When the momentum is at its finest.
Yeah. So you're going to make all this progress over the summer and be finally showing what you have been working on for the last 6 months, and then you're going to get rusty. To me, that was strange. Very strange, and I have to say that Hanyu seems to be working, trying to get better. Vincent's obviously not at his level. Nathan, supreme talent, 2-time world champion, incredible
knows how to take the time when he needed it the most.
Granted, last year was a little bit of a struggle for him, but he pulled it off when he needed to. He made it work. I think he's going to do it for one more year, then go back. Shoma, we don't know what's going to happen there, but it seems like, I bet he's going to stay with the Terry full year. I don't think this is just a summer camp situation. If the Terry wants him, I think he will be there. That is what I believe. If she thinks that this is going to work and that he can be competitive. So if you have that, Vincent, you're shooting yourself in the foot again. If you start to go to Brown, and then all of a sudden this becomes a mess of a situation. I feel like 90 minutes each way in a car sounds exhausting to me. It seems like, what is the point of this? I get that you're an intelligent person and you want to try to go to college, but why now? Are we just trying to keep up with Nathan? Is this the whole thing that they've been kind of...
Yeah, is this a brand? Is this an image thing? Yeah.
Is skating just a good extracurricular activity now that it's fallen so far? I don't know. That was strange to me. I don't think it's going to work brilliantly, but it's also weird. Brown for him was a strange choice. Apparently he's more conservative. That school is really liberal, so we'll have to see. But that was just, it was odd. It was all odd. It seems temporary. It seems like...
Where was this article, Dave? Because I read the highlights
Japan
from
Times. The Japan Times, Jack Gallagher.
Yeah, okay.
So,
yeah, okay.
And he had talked to Mie Hamada and things like that. So it was just really interesting. He will have a great sponsorship. It seems like Mie Hamada is really taking him under her wing, making things happen. But it just seems a little bit confounding because he's in such a deep era of men's skating where these skaters are so incredibly talented in the men's field, and he finally broke through. But I think staying there is going to be very difficult.
But he needed help breaking through. Do you know what I mean? All it's going to take is for a Shoma, a Koyada, something like that to show up, and I think he's...
Although I read the Koyada article, and they haven't made any real changes. He hasn't switched coaches. He's doing a chaplain program. It just doesn't seem like he is making any substantive changes. They tried to blame his sinusitis, but...
Right.
I think he's such a talent, and would love to see him perform well. But it seems like they haven't really figured that out yet. But again, this is someone who could figure it out, although I think with each competition it becomes less and less likely that that's going to happen. But
I still, in my heart of hearts, just hope.
Alia.
I know. Ever hopeful.
Ever hopeful, yes. And also, is anyone going to go to the Aurora Games that Jerry Solomon is putting on with ESPN in the lineup, Dave? Ashley Wagner, Caitlin Ohashi, and we don't know anyone else yet that's going to be there per se, but Nancy is going to be a part of it. Miss Val is going to be a part of it. Thinking that we may need to go up for that, Jonathan, as more people. I was like, which profession, if it's going to be a pro event, maybe Mariah will do it, maybe Osmond, who else could? Is Kostner, has she sworn off coming back to competition yet?
Well, it's actually interesting. Right now, we're kind of ripe for a pro circuit. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if Jerry's kind of seeing that opportunity. Someone like Ashley, who's a great performer, is probably looking for things to do. Yeah. That would be a great thing for her to do, for Mariah to do, for Carolina to do. It's right there. And to do it in North America as a competition, in my opinion, will always go over far better than a tour.
I mean, Carolina I think she would have to make a decision, because she always has to decide, if you do create as a pro, then she couldn't go back to the ISU events, unless they get a sanction or something. So it seems like maybe Kira Corby could do it, maybe Alyssa Cisney. I mean, Kimmy Meisner's from school. I don't know.
A short program at that one Europeans that she then pulled out of. She was third, I think. She's still got it.
Yeah.
She could totally do it.
Who knows what kind of money they have here? Are they going to bring over people from Japan? That's very expensive. None of them seem to be training in Hackensack anymore. So I don't know. It's kind of, and it's a female event, so it doesn't seem like it'll be. Originally, I was such an idiot. I was like, I wonder if Jeremy Abbott will compete. I was like, wait, Dave, you just read that it was a female event.
But again, Jeremy would be great for it too. You see our interest in the
Jeremy would be great for a pro event, not for a women's event, Jonathan.
Yes, okay? I know. But I'm trying to help you feel okay about why you thought maybe he would do it. Okay.
But I was like, I wonder who will do this. But it seems like there's not a ton of information about it yet, but I don't know.
I hope it's a slam dunk and they kind of start bringing something like it back.
In Albany? Yes, I went one time.
Of all places. The capital.
Capital. It's not that far. It's 2 hours. So, yeah.
Yeah, we could go on the Amtrak.
We could road trip, Jonathan, together.
That's right.
Make Michael Shanley drive. We can just chat the whole way up. Okay?
That's right, in the back.
Yes.
Anyway,
is Gracie Gold going to do the Liberty Philadelphia Summer Open? It's coming up. We've seen those snippets of the short program. She's talked about it. I don't know. Does anyone know if we may have to go down to Liberty? I haven't done it in a number of years, but I used to love to go to Liberty. Used to see my girl Samantha Cesario every year steal the show.
Yeah.
I've seen
triple loop action. Yeah.
I remember I saw her do the Impossible Dream, Carmen. We saw her do Swan Lake. So
always a pleasant addition to the lineup.
Yeah. Watch out for flying pucks. I think it used to say. I think they got rid of those signs over there. They always used to pull out some of the tape so it looked like something else. Anyway, those fun. Liberty was a real event. Went for several years, so it would be fun if they brought it back. I think Camden and Torgashev may be doing it. Also, did you see the USFS made this? It looked like they spent a lot of money making a really cliched fluff piece about Camden Pulkinen. It seemed like maybe they're working with a different marketing company. It seemed like a lot of money for a whole lot of cliches about being an athlete, reaching your potential. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of USFS, can you explain what's happening now?
So, kind of? Sort of?
Yeah.
So, they're not going to be doing all of the baby events at Nationals anymore. And that's why they're having the summer series. Look, there are a lot of skating moms watching this, can explain this better. I'm sure that they're their whole lives are trying to figure this out. But I was talking to our friend Ann Jensen, who runs a lot of competitions, and we've talked a lot about before how we think that there should be camps and qualifiers to it, and it looks like Justin Dillon took our idea. Thank you. But anyway, I would like to say that...
I think you were supposed to say you're welcome.
No, it's about time. We could say, well, maybe we were supposed to say, well, thank you and you're welcome. Okay? Both. All right? It's about, okay. So, but I think the problem is Nationals was getting too long, too expensive, right? To have to rent out those arenas for, you're almost really renting it out for 2 weeks when you have it for 2 weekends. Right. Extremely expensive. Right.
Multiple venues, because they were always at different arenas, all that practice time. Yeah, very complicated.
No one is going to that darn, no one was going to junior nationals, which is why they made it a part of senior nationals. It was cost-effective things, right? They don't have that many sponsors because skating's not that popular right now. So, in the U.S., but what they're doing is that they're having it so that if you, first there's a thing where top-ranked skaters can get through regionals and get a bye to sectionals. And there's another thing now that the top people in novice at sectionals will be able to compete in junior, and the top skaters will be invited to a developmental camp, and the people who win on the lower will also go to a developmental camp. And it's like how you place. Very confusing, but it's not going to. We're not going to be able to watch nationals at all of the baby events this year, which good or bad, I don't know.
Well, they used to have that adage like the kiss of death was to win.
Yes.
Juvenile, intermediate, or novice.
The kiss of death to win novice used to be like you should just quit now. That is
right.
A very, very few skaters that won novice. There are always exceptions. People are going to be like Kimmy Meisner and Todd Eldridge won. Got it. Know it.
Yeah.
In general, all the big talent, like Elizabeth Kwan, where did she go? Like lots of talented skaters who won novice. I don't know why I keep talking with my hands, but I'm having fun.
I was like, where'd they go? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, I mean, it'll be an interesting thing to see how it shakes out. But I imagine it was a logistical nightmare to try to do all of that at once.
I always like watching them on Ice Network, like to get myself revved up for nationals to put on one of the events and get excited. So that's kind of not as fun because it's kind of fun to see the younger kids like go out.
Well,
there.
And that's now like something like NBC Gold isn't showing any of that, are they?
They were last year.
They were okay. Listen, because that was a nice thing about Ice Network is you could watch sectionals and things like that. And I don't know how NBC Gold.
I was all about watching Liza Kulik skate in Katya's ribbon dress sectionals last year. So.
And that was through NBC Gold, or you saw that on YouTube?
I saw NBC Gold.
Oh well, then I'm very impressed with NBC Gold. Okay, I didn't realize that.
So, anyway. It was always fun. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. More to come, but we need more information. I want to know about the information being given, as you say, Jonathan. What kind of
Yes.
What kind of
actual facts, tangible advice.
All of this stuff, I am sure. So apparently, if you log in the members section of US Figure Skating, there's like a ranking of all these summer competitions. And now, like, they're trying to get people, obviously they're trying to get these competitions, like, the numbers up. So that's, like, part of the strategy. So, anyway, we'll have to see
how it goes. Yeah.
But we haven't heard about any, like, budding, exciting talents coming up. So that's a little bit worrisome. I don't know. Like, usually you hear about, like, a Leah Kaiser or someone where you're like, watch this girl. But watch Tessa Hahn. No one at the moment. But, you know.
Right.
Let us know if there's someone you think we really need to watch, you know.
Right. And we will. We want someone amazing to be coming up. Yeah.
Not necessarily just because they're your child. Think about it as if, like, you would be confident enough that your opinion could be either praised or ridiculed based on the recommendation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We don't have time to be watching, like...
Everyone.
Yeah. That was a good one.
But you did find time to listen to the JVN thing, and I did not. So I'm curious to get your take on it.
I actually listened to a couple episodes of his podcast. I've never listened to it before. Wow. Jonathan just has a lot of thoughts about things that he's curious about. I can't do so
Okay. Yeah, may you never.
Not in the mood for him. He's a sweet guy. You know, he loves skating and gymnastics. I never know with him, like, how much of it is a performance and how much of it is him. But then I was listening to him talk to Katie Couric about what George H.W. Bush did and didn't do about AIDS. And it was like, you know, that was really cute that he transitioned to power. But, like, what about the AIDS, Katie? And he, like, made some points, but it's just, like, he's so funny with how he is speaking in his one almost dialect and then goes in and out with actually intelligent points. But anyway, he was talking about to Michelle Kwan about the 2002 Olympics, and he was like retelling history about what happened with the Russians and the Canadians and the French judge. But just like, I recommend listening to it with hearing him say it. Like, I can't. It just, you just imagine Michelle Kwan sitting there, what her face looked like as he was talking about, you know, skating history. She did talk about Tarasova trying to get her to do a donut spin, and Michelle telling Tarasova, I'm not doing it. And Tarasova was like, oh, yes, you are. And Michelle thinks that it's ugly, but for the points, but ugly. So, and she
It can be. But she would have, well, I don't know how she would have. Yeah,
She was also saying that she preferred training the jumping part of skating to the artistic part and all other stuff. It was, there were some interesting things. She was quite relaxed. So I think that we were getting a little bit more out of her. But he was interviewing her and Elliot Halverson at the same time. Elliot is kind of coaches JVN on, and you could see clips of it on Instagram. So it was interesting to watch, but there were parts where it seemed like Elliot was talking too much. Like, you're in the presence of Michelle.
Yeah, no one's tuning in for you, dear. We're really looking for a Michelle moment.
Elliot was like really the valedictorian explaining the IJS. We got into like deep dives of what the technical panel and the judges are. He was like very happy to explain. But yeah, there were some interesting points in there. Michelle talked about how she was afraid of the triple loop. And yet
put it so late at 95.
Yeah, so late in 95. What was going on there? It was very late. So, also, the Judy Garland movie is coming out. I didn't realize that Frank choreographed a program for Michelle. Frank should not be a choreographer. We've seen Linda's programs. They weren't.
He has many talents.
Yes.
And that may not be one of them. Yeah.
He made Michelle skate to a random Judy Garland. Now, you know I love Judy. This was not the music for Michelle. And she did it at the 94 Evening with Champions. Well worth a watch. It's a bizarre watch, but it's worth a watch.
Okay. Okay.
You're like, I bet Frank and his mother loved that music together. You know, that was just...
Exactly.
Frank's mother must have been like our mothers. I'm guessing.
Judy and Liza.
Yes! Yes. Tell us about your mother, Frank. You know.
Yeah. You know that's a story, I'm sure.
Oh, very sure. Well, you know, Frank was from Worcester, and he was
jealous of the boss.
And kind of a whiner, and yes, could listen to it all day. All right.
Yeah, love it. Now, that's a coach who has its own, a very different approach, doesn't he? He was very stoic in a way, very dry, very business.
I kind of like it, you know.
I think there are people that would respond to that very much.
He's camp in his own way.
I needed Priscilla Hill. I would have wanted someone to be like, you're doing great. You can probably do even better if you'd ever check the damn landing. I feel like, great.
I loved Priscilla Hill in Johnny's documentary, and she seemed sweet. It seemed like we probably would have to leave her right before the end to win. Like, you probably do need a Tarasova.
Right, when it was time to elevate the technique, yeah.
I wouldn't even say elevate the technique. I just would say politic and finish and
I see. Yeah. Okay.
You know, like...
But you wouldn't be broken when you left her.
No. Like, I think Priscilla she seems sweet and lovely.
Yeah.
Not
dyes her hair to match her outfit. I think that's real commitment.
I think she's a beautiful skater, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
oh my gosh, when we went down that Linda Frediani era, and we were revisiting all those nationals from like late 70s, early 80s, it was really neat to see Priscilla Hill do all that.
I'll never forget the outtakes of the Linda interview. We won't say who it was. But I remember we gave her the one name, but she goes, kind of odd. Kind of odd. Linda, you're getting sassy.
I adore Linda.
Grooming? Well, why aren't the mothers doing that? Anyway.
Yeah, they should just brush their own hair. Thank you for coming, Linda. Thank you.
How is Linda doing? We should call her.
I miss Linda.
All right. Anyone, hold an edge, brush your daughter's hair, and look sexy. Bye.